Welcome. Woohoo!
Uh,
Congratulations.
I should have brought my pom-pom. Sorry, Vicki.
Evan doesn't have his pom-pom, but we are excited and delighted to welcome you to Charlotte Prep. And I'm Vicki. I think most of you know me. And this is Evan Kurtz is joining me today on this call. And I'll be handing you over to Evan here for the future. And he's going to be your go-to guy for future questions that you have, along with his support staff, Vanessa, in the middle school. So we're glad you're here. We're delighted that we're able to invite your students into the school community. And today really is very informal. It's just going to be Q&A. If you will just pop any questions that you have in the Q&A, type them in, and we'll address those and more, because we want you to feel that you have gotten your questions answered and that you are ready to go. So type away. I'll give you guys a few moments, and then I'll just let Evan welcome you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm also really pleased, as Vicki said, to be able to welcome you to Charlotte Prep, and specifically Charlotte Prep's middle school. Always excited to bring in new students and new families into our middle school, because we know that they add so much to what we do here in the classroom, on the stage, in the playing field, in the lunchroom, in our hallways. And then also the nice thing is that we really embrace those new students and new families. We're also really proud to be able to say that those new students don't feel very new for long, because they blend in and they're comfortable, and they're cooking along, doing their middle school things. And so we are really happy and pleased and proud to be able to say that. So I see we have the first brave soul to put something in the Q&A. So it always takes first.
And it's not a silly question. No silly question.
Not a silly question, no. So our general bell schedule is we begin the day, pardon me, we begin the day welcoming students anytime after 7:45. At that time, they come in and get themselves ready, use their lockers, prepare. At 8:05, we begin our advisory time. That lasts for 20 minutes. At 8:25, they're dismissed again. They get themselves prepared. And from there, we have 5 classes that last about an hour. So within there's bells. And we don't actually ring bells, just to let everybody know. And then by the end of the day, they are dismissed at 3:05. Our carpool starts at 3:10. We are optimistically looking forward to next year, when carpool doesn't signal the end of the day for everybody, when there are drama productions and sports to go to, where we can gather and do things that we love to do, and pursue those extracurricular type things.
And the 7:45, Evan, that's really just this year. Typically, students can arrive as early as 7:30 for before care.
That's right. We have had 7:30 arrivals in the past. I'm talking about this year again. Looking forward to next year. Things are going to be again, hopefully different in terms of what we need to do for our distancing and things like that. But again, yes, we have opened as early as 7:30. That's correct, Vicki. Thank you.
And we typically have care all the way until 6 o'clock. This year, we're the aftercare ends a little earlier, just really to give us time for those extra cleaning protocols that have to happen, and mitigation efforts that have to happen due to the pandemic. But we are optimistic, as Evan said, that we'll be able to next year return to a little bit more normal way to do school. One of the first questions here, Evan, is can you tell me how students who have not had as much STEM instruction are integrated or assisted with classroom activities that require those skills?
Sure, you bet. So we have STEM that's embedded in our classes. In the lower school, they have a special that's called STEM, where they go to the lab and have a special STEM teacher. We found in the middle school that we didn't want to separate it as much. We didn't want to call something STEM because, frankly, we want it to be integrated. We want the S in STEM to be for science and the M to be for math, and to blend that in with the hands-on activities that are happening in those classes. But regardless of whether you are someone who came up through our middle school going to STEM classes with Emily Tucker or not, just like with other skills, we are ready to help students blend in, understand, right, when it comes to those STEM skills that they're going to need, whether it's the hands-on building pieces, whether it's the design on paper, early thought process, engineering pieces. STEM is like any other skill where our middle school teachers know that we are dealing with students on a variety of experience levels and work to differentiate that through their instruction, through with whom the students may work with. And that's part of us getting to know students, where they are, what they need, and how we can help support. As I said at the top of this webinar, we know that we are welcoming new students all the time. And with those new students comes a new set of experiences and skills, and we take them in and blend them right into our classes.
And I think that due to the pandemic that we've all experienced this last year, we know that there likely will be some additional support that is going to be needed for many students, really, across the board, because the learning situation for new students, in particular if they've not come from an independent school, has not been what our students had in-person learning. It's not been the same. There is a question here about how many new students will be joining prep in each middle school grade. We have heard that there might be a small expansion with the COVID improvements. Yeah. So I'm not sure yet, like the exact number, but we did restrict our classroom student body in middle school based upon measuring the classrooms this year and keeping the children 6 feet apart. So my understanding is now that the data is supporting that we likely don't need quite that 6 feet of distancing, and many schools are moving or have already moved to 3 feet. I believe we're committed this year to finishing out the school year at 6 feet, and then allowing additional students next year with more like the 3 feet type spacing in place. We're not still sure what mitigations what's going to be required, or even what's going to be recommended, but our crisis response team, which meets each week and will likely meet throughout next school year, we're constantly evaluating, constantly using the latest updates and research. Our nurses really involved with that process, and so it's really just a day by day kind of thing. But at this point, we do expect a little bit larger classroom sizes, but our maximum class size, or grade level size, I should say, is 40. We really try not to go over 40 in those middle school classrooms. That's 2 classes per grade level. Sometimes that could look like an actual class size is smaller, but that really depends on the breakout groups or like the math grouping, that type of thing. So I know that's not a precise answer, but right now that's the answer that we have. So hope that's helpful. Let's see. Anybody else? I'll give you a second to. One of the questions we had earlier in our lower school was specific really to academics. Evan, if you want to talk a little bit about, academics and how they build on throughout the middle school. I'll just let you give an overview.
Sure. I'd be happy to. We, as you more than likely heard me say when we met virtually, our 5 core subjects of English, science, social studies, math, and Spanish not only in 5th and 6th grade, and then again in 7th and 8th grade, do we have looping teachers where they work with students for 2 years in a row to be able to develop curriculum and get to know students. But we, of course, are working very closely with one another to make sure that that 5 through 8 curriculum is really bound together vertically, so that we can work up through those grades, building on all those skills that we are developing, so that by the time they leave 8th grade, everybody has really maximized and been challenged all the way through. Also, with that connection is we make sure we're connected with our 4th grade. Now, that being said, these are all new families who we're inviting in here, so I want to make sure that that we're also ultra aware of the fact that we are ready to receive students from all different schools, experiences. And so we know that we take in new students, and while they might not have done our lower school, or they might be new to us even in 8th grade, we're ready to take them in and blend them in, because that's what we've been doing for years here at Charlotte Prep, right? With the fluid nature of Charlotte, and knowing that students are always come in, we are eager to receive them and ready to blend them into our academic program as it builds on one another. I want to make sure also it's not simply the core subjects that continue to build. All of our subjects understand that there are key skills that need to be built on as we explore them in different ways. And that goes for art and phys ed and drama and music and all of those pieces where everything is a build. While there certainly are new subjects that get brought up each and every year, it's also true that many of those new subjects are builds on what's been previously there. So whether that's how we read poetry, or how we dribble basketball, all of those things get built on to try and get students the most gain.
There's a question here, Evan, how do you help students who haven't had Spanish before?
A couple of ways. One is we try and do a Spanish assessment to see where they are after this spring, to see what they might need, and then try and give them some materials, steer them in a direction. We have done some Spanish instruction on campus before. Obviously, we're not quite sure what that may be able to look like this coming summer. But regardless, try and steer students so that they can get any prep work, so that they can be as prepared as possible coming into our Spanish program. And as it goes up through the years, depending on what grade we're talking about, we know that in grade 5, and that even though our homegrowns have had some lower school Spanish, that really is an entry year for grade 5. And as we go up, we know that there's more undergirding foundational work that needs to be done as we get them ready. But again, we have been ready to receive and been really successful with getting students in our Spanish program in all 4 grades. And we'll definitely work with you to make that happen. And
the summer program that Evan's talking about, we call it a Spanish boot camp. So
correct.
That usually happens really kind of right before school starts, right. And we're hopeful we'll be able to offer that this coming school year. We weren't able to offer it this past school year, but still our teachers were able to work with those children and make sure that they feel comfortable and bring them up to speed.
Right.
There's another question here, Evan. It says, I have children entering the middle school and the lower school. I know there are summer camp options for younger students. Are there any offerings for 8th graders? Offerings for 8th graders in our camp is there a few options to be a counselor in training for rising 8th graders, but there aren't camper options per se. Our summer folks are developing that application in the process as we speak. Expect that to come out quite soon. And so if you want to reach out to me directly, interested in that potential counselor and training process, let me know, and I can forward that along. And that's really just another great way that our older students can demonstrate leadership and practice, helping with those younger students. That's right. And then, of course, the traditional camps are typically for like lower school through 6th grade. And the camps this year are running from June 7th through August the 6th. And we are taking the week right after the 4th of July. That following week, the campus will be closed. There will not be camp then. But the camps are typically theme-based. You can read all about them on our website. We've got descriptions, and then you can also sign up on our website too. I believe when you just go right to our website, there'll be a pop-up, and you can click that link and it'll take you right to the summer camp program offerings. And as I'm talking about the website a little bit, I will mention that there is the Parent Hub link, which many of you have already probably found, but it's in the upper right corner, Parent Hub, and that is kind of your go-to spot for information about the school. We do update that every summer, and we'll send you an email, back to school email, late July, which says, okay, this is ready, everything's been updated. Here's what you need to do to get ready to get back to school. And so Parent Hub is where you will find a lot of that updated information. You'll also get a student handbook, or we have divisional handbooks as well. Those are updated if needed over the summer as well, and they'll be available to you. And we do ask that you read through those and confirm that you've read through that, so that you know and your children know as well, sort of our policies, our procedures, and how we operate at Charlotte Prep.
Yep.
There is already under Parents Hub, for those of you that may be curious about what the first day of school is, what's the holiday schedule, break schedule going to look like, that there is a PDF up at Parents Hub of the year sort of in review, a one-pager where you can click that and find out the answer to questions around calendar times. Another question that someone is asking here is, they heard we may be hiring a teacher to teach only writing.
We currently have writing very much embedded into not only our English language arts program, but also in social studies, where they do writing, even writing lab reports and word problems for math, and writing in Spanish. In terms of looking at a writing only teacher, when we talk about personnel all the time, we always move things back and forth, see whether that'd be possible. So while we don't have that right now, I wouldn't rule anything out, but we are also really proud of the writing that's being done currently embedded in all of our classes.
And then the next question, yes, can rising 7th graders do the counselor and training program? Yes, I believe it starts, Evan, is that correct, for the 7th graders?
Now that you say that, the answer is maybe. I need to confirm that, right? We can take a look at that application, or that frankly might be on the information that Vicki pointed you to on the website as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it does include the 7th graders. The 7th and 8th graders typically can take part in that. And then there's a question here about the camps seem to have different themes. Yes, they do have different themes. And what camp would you recommend for a rising 6th grader?
I don't have the themes memorized yet, so I'd have to take a closer look and then weigh in after that, certainly.
I think really they have themes because they're typically the children are interested in.
Right.
So whatever your child is interested in, that would be, what I would sign them up for. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about athletics and offerings and how athletics are run?
Sure. I'm going to talk about athletics the way that we had them before, and the way that we hope to have them next year. So the most important thing to note about our athletics teams is that they are eligible to be played and tried out for all 4 middle school grades, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The reason that's important is that's not an opportunity that many middle schools have, just because they tend to either focus on 7th and 8th grade or have exclusive teams. We like our model because, number one, it encourages participation. And 2, when we have teams with those grade breakdowns, it allows a real bond to develop because those 7th and 8th graders, again, are stepping up, taking leadership opportunities, whether it be on the field of play or in the huddle or during practice. And it also allows those younger students who make the team, those 5th and 6th graders, to move up and to first be someone who might play a smaller role or might be less vocal, to then, as they progress through the teams, they can then take on larger roles of both leadership with play as well as leadership vocally. So, when we do that, we, are really growing a true program with a real spirit that runs through that. Our options that we offer are in the fall, we have boys soccer, girls tennis, co-ed cross country, and girls volleyball. In the wintertime, we have a boys basketball team as well as a girls basketball team, as well as a cheerleading squad. And in the springtime, we have co-ed golf, girls soccer, boys tennis, and I would hate to leave something out, but I think I got it all.
And cheerleading is in the winter, I think, too.
Yeah, I said that, I think.
That's for you did. Okay. Yeah.
How could I forget with your pom-poms today? So, we have a conference that we compete in that are schools of sort of like size and, athletic ideals to make sure that we are going against schools who have athletics, with the right thing in mind. For us, athletics is another opportunity to educate. That's not to say that we don't go out there and try and win, because we most certainly do, but we're not going to sacrifice principles for a victory. And that is, of course, fair play and competition for competition's sake, and team spirit, and hard work, and all of those things that go into make athletics a really enriching part of school and student life.
Evan, can you talk a little bit about electives and clubs and
Sure.
maybe this distinction between the two, and when do children get to start to have a voice in, choosing those things?
Sure. Well, our elective period, which we have once every 6 days, is also really clubs. It's when we want to get students together who have like interests. So we want another opportunity where we break down barriers of grade or previous friendships and try and get people to meet each other, work with each other, and be with each other. So for instance, if there is a ultimate Frisbee club that's offered up during our electives period, there could be anybody from any grade who would want to go out and play ultimate Frisbee. And so they would sign up, find a faculty sponsor, and go do that. If there's a group of students who want to watch movies in Spanish during that elective time, again, another opportunity to break down, find that sponsor, and then go ahead and make that elective so they can get together and join. As Vicki talked about, anytime that we can get more student voice in the room, to say a student that says, I'm thinking about a escape room club this year. I wonder if anybody else is interested. I wonder if that, but then of course there's teachers who also bring their interests in too. So it's a great way to step out of the classroom a little bit. It might be you didn't know that Ms. Kilroy also had a collection of percussion instruments that she likes to share, and you can go and play them with her and make music. Fantastic. That's really excellent. You didn't know that a teacher had a passion for, comic book art and how to draw them. But guess what? So do you. And so you can get together with like-minded students and do that comic book art as well. So it's a way to, again, bring our community together for people with like-minded interests and just get out there and enjoy. And
the clubs that are offered, there's several different options, but
and really it changes every year as well
by what the children are interested.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Giving a list of options from previous years doesn't necessarily dictate to what's going to be next year, because we've got a different student body with different ideas, and frankly, even if you have similar teachers, they might have a light bulb moment where they say, "Oh, I think I'd like to offer this year."
Yeah. And then we also have student council. Talk to us a little bit about student council. Yep. what is that? How does
We have
somebody become a part of it? And
Yeah, if we have a student council, and the nice thing is that every year we have students who are new to our community decide to run and take their place on the student council. Student council is a way for students to have their voice, and the word that I always try and use, and our teachers around here use when we talk about student council, is representative, right? Too often student councils fall into one person's ideas once they're elected, but we want to make sure that they are of the people, shall we say, making sure that they're representing what their classmates and frankly the whole school is looking for. They are always looking to bring fun events to school, right? We're looking forward to hopefully next year we can bring back fun events like gatherings and dances and all those things where student council gets to be a large part of, but also student council can be just a way to remember small things that happen and small things that gather. It's also a leadership opportunity to, when we have morning meetings with the entire middle school, that they can be folks who can be up there and, leading the announcements, doing things like that. And frankly, really starting their path down the road to seeing what student government feels like. This might be something they want to do not only now, but also in the future.
So aftercare for middle school, what is that going to look like, Evan?
Sure.
Or after in the afternoon, yeah.
Right. So again, looking for beyond the school day. There are some students who don't get picked up at carpool for one reason or another. If they sign up for the after-school program, they get together with other students who are there. We have an after-school teacher who's there. Generally, for middle school students, it's a time to decompress and get a snack and do some play and hopefully take care of some homework, really. So all four of those things are going to happen, sometimes in different orders as that works out. We understand that after a long day, the first desire might not be to get down and crack right into that homework, but we also realize that this is a really important time, and that when students get home, again, that fatigue level is there, or they might have another practice of some kind afterwards. We want to take advantage of the time that we have. We also want to take advantage of the fact that play and food are really important to everybody, including especially middle schoolers. And so, understand those bodies' needs as well. So blending all of that in, that after-school teacher is also there to coordinate with teachers during the day, because they're someone, if they're seeing students on a regular basis, they can help, they can lean in. Let me help you organize your agenda to make sure that you're keeping up with things. Let me help you make sure you're staying on top of writing this essay, which I know is due next Thursday. Things of that nature is another way that we coordinate for student needs, but also coordinate to make sure that everybody's communicating in and around students.
And if a student is playing a sport or perhaps involved with the drama production, but it doesn't go, they still need to care all the way to 6 o'clock, and the sports activity doesn't last till 6 o'clock, or the drama production doesn't last till 6 o'clock, they can certainly then
That's right.
have that space to go to and be safe here on our campus.
That's right.
Question about dress code. And what's the dress code in middle school? And are
Sure.
there any times when it's a little bit more formal?
We have relaxed dress code this year just due to the sort of lack of movement that students are dealing with, comfort. Again, when things become more normal next year, we are going to reinstitute our dress code, which is basically, you're coming here for school. You're not coming here for sleep. So we're not wearing pajamas. You're not coming here for athletics, right? We're going to change for phys ed. So we're not doing sweatpants either. But rather, you are here to do the business of school. So we want to make sure that students are looking smart and that they're ready to go. We also don't want anybody to be a walking advertisement. So we're not going to have big, large logos on our fronts either. There are times when we invite guests to campus, or there are special events that we do a more formal attire. We do the occasional dress up day if there's if there's an occasion or something happening where we will do the more dressy dresses, coat and tie. Make sure we're wearing a belt. Make sure we're not wearing sneakers. That sort of routine as well.
One of the times in particular I think of that is our high school fair. And that's when we're inviting admissions directors, heads of schools, sometimes our former students on campus. That usually happens in the fall. And that's an event specific to our 8th grade students and their families. It's really their first opportunity to get in front of some folks, a little bit like a job fair.
Yeah.
We, get dressed up, we rehearse, we practice interview skills, shaking hands, asking appropriate questions, and they just have to come and they have to look sharp. And then the other thing that they would need is a little Charlotte Prep, I think, polo with the logo on there, especially if they're participating in the fine arts program. I know that if they're doing a chorus or band performance, they have to have that white polo with the Charlotte Prep crest, and then some black, skirt or slacks for those performances. But
we call that concert dress.
Yeah, concert dress. Yeah. So all of that again is going to be, in all that back to school information. And we do have a Charlotte Prep school store, which the icon or the link to that is under that Parents Web icon on the website. So anytime you want to purchase Charlotte Prep gear, you can click that link and find some items to purchase. Are athletic pants allowed for boys?
I think the answer to that is, I know that there are these pants that are made of more sort of pants-like material that are called joggers. They have pockets. They look more like pants. Those are okay. But things that are sweat panty, we're not going to have that as be part of the dress code next year. No.
And again, as Evan mentioned, this year, because the children were not traveling to specials area classes and because they were having to wear the mask all day, we have relaxed our dress code so that they can be comfortable. But next year, it'll be a more return to normal. And there's a very specific dress code in Fuller form that will be in the middle school
Correct.
handbook. So
Correct.
You'll want to check that out before you go buy any new clothes, any new school clothes before the children start. Okay. Yep. I was thinking when you were talking about, we were talking about student council, it was reminding me of the buddy program and also service learning opportunities. Can you talk a little bit about that, Evan?
Sure. So our buddy program is where middle school students are connected with lower school students, usually in a partnership or in a group of 3, depending on numbers for the grades. And every student in middle school is the older part of that pair. And that's neat because even if you're in 5th grade, you're older than your 1st grade buddy. And so it's up to you to, play that older part, lead, help. So when we get together with Buddy, it happens about once a month. It might simply be to read stories together. It might be to write letters together to the elderly, or write letters together to folks overseas. We have done service projects where we've gotten together to work together to make food bags or deliver supplies. But in all instances, it's an opportunity for a middle school student to step up and to, help work with and really develop a relationship those younger students. A really neat part about our buddy program is how it's not over simply when that project is over, right? Once they establish that relationship, they see each other walking across campus or at carpool or anytime, and the connection, they wave, hey, there's my buddy, excellent to see you. And it's a way of making our campus even smaller and closer knit. I mentioned that the sort of buddy service projects, that gets connected with some of the work that our director of community life does in trying to make sure that our students are aware of the greater world that's out there, whether it's greater Charlotte, greater North Carolina, greater US, greater world, and trying to see how we can connect and understand how we can serve and help. Like I said, we have done food drives and gift collections, and even gotten so much to where we worked with a group of Operation Sandwich, where we had a mammoth assembly line going through of making all these sandwiches piece by piece by piece. And when we can get students understanding what goes into that and understanding that all of this food that they were delivering is really critically important and really quite helpful, but also only a drop in the bucket for that day as to what that need is. So understanding more fully what that can mean for students and how they make their mark is really important.
Yeah, and that just all of that really ties in, character development for us because, it's not only about, being kind to your people here on campus, but also, having a greater awareness of people that are out in the immediate Charlotte community, but then in the world beyond. So really working to, um, you know, help improve that empathy and kindness, and all that ties back into our 4 pillars of leadership: the respect, integrity, perseverance, and courage. Um, I have a question here, Evan, about do the new students and new families connect with an existing student or family over the summer, and what opportunities are there for new students to connect to school before the first day of school other than camps? So I'll answer the first part of that in terms of the new students and new families connecting with existing students and families over the summer. So yes, basically in a typical year, the students do, the families, our Parents Association is really instrumental in connecting with new families. So they'll reach out and sort of just touch you and let you know that they're there as part of the Charlotte Prep community. You're automatically part of our Parents Association, but they're a really wonderful group, and they have all sorts of ways for you to be involved and to connect. And so they'll definitely reach out. We have like a mentor family program, and that's really more adult to adult. And then there are opportunities we'll connect you during the summer, that sort of mentor family, and the PA helps us do that. And then there are, this has been a really unusual year, but if you or your child has not had the opportunity yet just to be on campus even, and I know for the kids, a lot of them haven't, then I'm certainly available. We are asking if kids are doing tours that they come, around 4:00 in the afternoon. So just reach out to me and we'll get something scheduled. Now, as we get closer to the start of school, there are some orientation things that happen in kickoff conversations. Evan, if you want to speak to that,
right. Well, I think 2 pieces for new students and families to get on campus. One is, again, in regular years, hopefully we can get to there again. We do, part of our orientation is inviting new families here, just new families, to get the lay of the land without being overwhelmed by people, and to see where classrooms and lockers and campus spaces are. And the other is, part of our orientation piece is we invite all families to come on for what we call kickoff conversations, where you get to come in with your advisor. The family gets to meet the advisor, student gets to meet the advisor, and to work with them to get a feel. Again, another opportunity to get on campus so that when things get a little bit more chaotic on those first couple of days of school, they don't need to worry about, where's my English class again? Where's the art studio again? They really have a feel under there to get that done and to get that connected.
And normally we'll have a new family event. We typically have it in May. It's likely we call it our new family frozen yogurt social, new family, new students. Since we aren't doing, large group activities this spring, what we'll do is something a little bit different. We're planning that now, and likely going to happen early in May. So that'll be an opportunity for you to really to come and see us for a minute, and then we have some surprises up our sleeve to touch base with families over the summer, specifically new families. One thing I did want to bring up is this, I think is kind of nice and unique about prep, is the student responsibility block. And, what is that? What's the purpose of that? And if you talk a little bit about that, Evan.
Sure. We have one time on our schedule that we call SRB, or Student Responsibility Block. And we were really thoughtful and purposeful about not calling it study hall, because study hall implies this passive thing where you may or may not take opportunity of this time. Student responsibility block, we want to make it just that. It is the student's responsibility to be planful. What do I need? What am I going to bring? What am I going to do there? Do I need to coordinate with peers? Do I need to coordinate with a teacher? And then when they get there, how to use their time most wisely during that student responsibility block. We have, obviously there are people there who are, making sure that's happening, but really we want to keep the emphasis on the student, which is why we put that in the title. And that's really how we address it as we go through. We want to make sure that work, any homework that we give is really purposeful and thoughtful. But also we understand that there can be times when a student can tackle the work, but they need to have more communication around it, either with a peer or with a teacher. And so taking that student responsibility block, they can have that communication around that as well. And so it's a way to make sure that not only students are taking charge, but also that they know that there are other avenues. Homework is, or assigned work is not simply what you go home and do it in a vacuum and come home and present it back in a vacuum. It is a give and take, and we want to make sure that give and take is happening.
And then we talk a lot in the middle school about inquiry-based activities and project-based learning. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, anytime that we can make projects come alive, we know that we are going to get more students to be energized, more teachers to be energized, frankly. So whether that's in our science labs or finding angles for geometry in math that are outside of the classroom, or getting peers to interact and peer edit with an essay in English, or finding art that is art that we wouldn't have necessarily thought of. Anytime that we can get more hands-on, get creative, get thinking outside of the box, and frankly, get interactive with it. And that interaction can take many forms. That interaction can be with peers, interaction can be with a guest speaker, interaction can be with something that they find outside of the classroom and bring in and share. We want to make sure that we are, keeping things fresh and alive, because that's the way that the learning gets done. That's the way that learning is gonna beget that love of learning.
There's a question here about will there be an assessment for Spanish? Mine have been self-study over the past 2 years.
That's part of the communication that we get through as to find out what they've done previously, what grade they're going into, and whether there's going to need to be any prep work, or whether they're going to slot in just fine.
So yes, there will be.
Yes.
And then the lunch. It's always a hot topic.
Everybody gets to eat.
Is food. Yeah. And what that looks like looks very different this year.
Yes.
From what we anticipate it looking like next year.
Right. I will say next year, and I'll talk about what we did previously, right? We have 2 times where we eat during the day. One is a mid-morning snack, where students can either get something from the cafeteria or bring their own. And that snack is tied in with a time when they're also getting outside and playing and moving. The second time is lunch. Due to cafeteria space, et cetera, we have 5th and 6th graders eating lunch together, and then 7th and 8th graders eating lunch together at a separate time. Again, you may buy from the cafeteria or you may bring your own lunch. We hope to plan to return to looking like normal, where students are eating in the cafeteria together next year, as opposed to eating in their classroom spaces like we are this year.
Yeah. And Flick is our food service provider. They do cook everything here. You would be able to create an account, load your account, and then your student, as middle school students, they can go through the line and select their meal options, and they have a PIN number and there's a declining balance. And I will say I've been here at Charlotte Prep for, I don't know, almost 20 years, and I've been through a lot of iterations of dining hall food, and Flick is certainly, I will eat Flick. So, yeah.
And it's also true that with Flick, if you purchase, they keep a running tally not only of the money, but also what's being purchased. So you can check behind your student to see what's being purchased and consumed.
Yeah, yeah. And then did we, fine arts, I think we talked about that as one of the specials. Did we hit on the drama, like the drama performances that we normally?
Sure. So
have?
much like I talked about the athletics teams being 5 through 8, our drama performances are also open to middle schoolers of all ages. Again, a lot of what I talked about with sports, where it can be that the older students are taking on more leading roles, whether it's in front of the stage or behind, because we've got students who work backstage as well. And then they grow into those pieces. That works in our drama production as well. In the fall, we tend to have a non-musical drama production, a typical play, as it were. And then in the springtime is when we have our musical production with all the singing and dancing type things.
And our fine arts department is truly extraordinary. I mean, my kids are grown and gone from Charlotte Prep, but I still like to come to the drama performances. They're that entertaining. They're quite good. Anybody else have any other questions? I think we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. But if you have a lingering question, type it in and we'll get to it. And if not, you're welcome to reach out to me or to Evan.
Certainly.
Again, we are looking for those enrollment packets to be fully submitted by this coming Thursday at noon. I know that's a really quick turnaround this year because of the holiday, which happens on Friday and then again on Monday. So we appreciate your assistance with that. And then the directions are pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. It's the school number and my direct extension is 1147. And so I'm not seeing any additional questions. Evan, was there any follow-up that you had?
No, I want to thank everybody for being here. Really appreciate all the questions that were asked. I think one of the first questions was a silly question. No, there aren't any silly questions. Please let us know how we can help.
Yeah. And oh wait, there's one popping up here. Did we already cover about what options are offered for specials? Okay, so we could quickly hit on that.
Right. With specials, everybody takes art and drama and phys ed. Everybody also takes music. That's one of the spots where we ask students to make a choice. They either play an instrument in the band or their instrument is their voice and they sing in the chorus.
Mm-hmm. And, the STEM is integrated really throughout the middle school. Through 6th grade, they actually go to the STEM lab. And then by 7th and 8th,
technology lab.
Technology lab. And then it is full on integrated, by 7th and 8th grade. But they're really doing some fun things like robotics and coding and all of that actually starts in kindergarten, and just builds on itself. And in 6th grade, they do a project where they create their own web page, and there's digital photography. So it's truly a very robust, broad-based liberal arts curriculum. So, and it's our goal to make sure that these children are well prepared and ready to become the next generation of kind and empathetic leaders. And that is who we are, and that is what we are about. And we're looking forward to having you partner with us and join us. And we're really grateful that you've come through this admissions process with us. I know it can be a little stressful. We try to keep the stress level low, but there's a lot of boxes to check and things to do. So thank you for your patience as we've worked through this. It's going to be a terrific year. We really are excited for this upcoming year. Everybody, I think, is pretty ready to get the pandemic behind us. But so if we can support you in any way, please let us know, and just have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, everybody. Be well.
Bye.